Okay, so in this video we are going to export this 3.js scene into GLB format. Now if you click on the download GLB model, you see this .glb file downloaded. Now you can view this .glb file in any of your 3D viewers. So if you have a 3D viewer installed, if you have this 3D viewer application installed, you'll be able to see the 3.js scene in 3D viewer. But what you can also do is go to sandbox.babylonjs.com and then drag and drop the .glb file over here to view it. Okay, so that's what we are going to do in this video. So let's get started. Alright, so I have created a folder called 3.js export scene to GLB and I've opened it in VS Code. And what I've done is got this 3.js, you just have to download this and put it inside your project. And where you can download this is, so if you go to 3js.org, you will find it over here, download. So if you download it, you get this 3js master 1.zip, and then you just need to extract it and then copy paste it to your project directory. So I'm just going to cancel this because I already have this downloaded. That's all that you need to set up 3js project. Now what I'm going to do is create a file called index.html, and let's see, so HTML doc. Then I'm just going to name this export 3.js scene to GLB. Then I'm just going to make a button, call it ID equal to download GLB. And then this will be download GLB format. Then canvas class equals WebGL. Type equals module. Okay, now, sorry. Yeah, so now let's create the index.js file. And this is where most of our, the code will go. So let's import everything from 3. Build module.js. Yeah, and now we can make the, get the canvas element. Then .webgl. Scene. We have our scene 3.scene. Okay, and now a bit of course, boilerplate code. So we have the boilerplate code ready, and all that we need to do is get the cube and the sphere now. Let's get a cube geometry, and we call it 3.box geometry, and then just 1, 1, 1. I'm going to use, yeah, and then we have a sphere geometry. Sphere geometry, and this will be 110. Alright, now we want to have a material for each of those geometries. So we'll have one geometry for cube and the other we'll have one material for cube and another material for sphere. So let's define those. Const material, I'm just going to name it 1 and 2. 3 dot mesh basic material, and so let's give this a color of indigo, and another material for my sphere. 3 dot mesh basic material, and let's give this a color of blue. Of course, you can change it to whatever hex code you want. Alright, so we have the geometry and the material there. Let's build the mesh now. Const mesh 1 is equal to new 3 dot mesh. So we'll have one cube geometry, and we are going to have this as material 1, and const mesh 2 will be sphere geometry, and this will be material 2. Okay, now we're just going to add the meshes into the scene. So mesh 1 and mesh 2. So let's see how this looks first, and we'll make adjustments. So you go into index.html, right click and click on open with live server. Again, if you don't have live server installed, you can go to extensions, just search for live server, and the first one, this is the one that you need to install by Ritvik Day. Okay, and once you install that, you can just go back to index.html, and when you right click, you'll see the open with live server option enabled. So let's open with live server. Okay, so alright, the scene is here. I mean, the position and everything looks a bit off, so let's adjust this a bit. But you can see the download GLB format over there. Okay, so the button is there, the canvas element is there. Okay, now let's adjust this a bit. Alright, so now we want to arrange the two meshes as such that the cube is below the sphere, and now let's reduce the size of the spheres. So I'm going to do that by calling scale.set, and I'm going to do that 0.5, 0.5, and I'm going to set the size, set the position of the sphere to 0, 1, 0. So that means 1 unit along the y-axis. Okay, now let's go to index.html and see how it looks. Okay, so we're getting there. The box is above the the sphere is above the box. So okay, but now let's style this a bit, and I want this button to be in the center as well as the background to change to blue color. So let's focus on this first. This GLB button, I want it in the center, so let's do that. Okay, so let's make a style.css, styles.css, and oh, I have to link that file. So link css, there we go. So styles.css, and yeah, let's go to styles.css file. And so first of all, I want to change the height and the width of the button. Let's keep the height as 40 pixels and width as 200 pixels. Let's go back. Yeah, it looks good. Okay, and now I want to center this, so let's create a div. There you go, and let's give this a class as, let's say, container, and let's go to styles.css, and then dot container will be display flex, and then justify content as center. Yeah, align items center. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so it looks good. Let's just give this a bit of margin as well. Let's say 20 pixels. That should be good. Yeah, looks good. Okay, so we have the button, and now let's change the color of this canvas. How am I going to do that is I'm going to go to index.js, and then here in I'm going to call the alpha property and set it to true. And what that will do is create this kind of, the black background goes off and it looks white, right? So yeah, it's basically transparent. Okay, so now if I go to styles or CSS and get the canvas tag, and now I'm going to change the color of this to say aqua. There you go. So this is how it looks like now. Okay, so we have given the application a bit of polish so that it looks a bit visually better. And now we're going to focus on the actual the core logic of downloading or like exporting the GLB model, exporting the 3.js scene to GLB format. And how I'm going to do is create a reference first to as soon so that like whenever if someone clicks on that button, it should trigger a function call. So let's get the element by ID and then download GLB, yeah, and button dot add event listener, click, and I'm going to call the function as just download. Okay, I'm just going to check whether the index.html has this ID. So yeah, download GLB, that's the ID. And now I'm going to define this function download, and here we are going to use the GLTF exporter. Now this GLTF exporter is in 3.js, and what I'm going to do next is just call the parse method, then scene, and then here we are going to get the result, and we can also pass the binary as true because we want the GLB format rather than GLTF. In case of GLTF it will be false. And yeah, and then I'm going to define another function called, let's say, just save array buffer, and result will be 3.js scene.glb. Yeah, and then another function will be sorry, the function. So now let's define the save array buffer function, and what it gets is a buffer and a file name, and let's call save as new blob buffer file name. So now let's define another function called save, where we're getting the file name film.href url.create url blob, and then we're going to name the file that is downloaded as file name, and then perform this click method. So this link.click method, it triggers the downloading of that particular GLB file. Alright, so yeah, that's basically it. So if I jump back into the browser and if I download GLB format, let's see if it works. And it seems like it doesn't work. Inspect GLTF exporter is not defined. Huh. Okay, makes sense. So what I've done here is that I didn't call, I didn't import the GLTF exporter from Three.js, and let's do that then. So let's get the Three.js master and then examples. Wait, it's in the examples directory, I guess. Let's see. What was it? JSM, and then exporters and GLTF exporter. Yeah. Okay. So now it should work. Let's go back into the browser and refresh. Wait, what's wrong? Oh, .js. Okay. So now if I click on download, okay, it still doesn't work. Let's see what's the problem. Link is not defined. Oh yeah, so I have to define that. I forgot to define that. My God. So if you const link is equal to document dot create element. So this will be an anchor tag. And then I'm just going to append this to the body of the document so that you will be able to see the link of that particular file. So now if I go back, hopefully now it should work. Let's click on inspect and now click on download GLB. Yup, it downloads. So you have the Three.js scene exported in GLB format and downloaded as well. Now you can obviously send this to another server or wherever you want, so that you can at least store it somewhere. And there are a lot of things that you can do with it. And of course, this particular, the Three.js scene, it depends on what kind of scene that you create. So there are a bunch of benefits and bunch of use cases where this particular thing might be useful. Okay, so the code is working fine, and you see that the file is getting saved and all. So let's understand this part a bit. So the first thing that I do over here is I get a button, and the ID of that button is download GLB, and then I detect a click on that button, and when someone clicks on that button, I call the download function. So the download function gets triggered. Once the download function gets triggered, inside the function we have the GLTF exporter class. Now GLTF exporter class is a special class inside of Three.js that is used to parse the whole scene. So if you hover on top of parse, you see it parses the scene and generates GLTF output. In our case, we have generated a GLB output. So it is used for both GLTF as well as GLB. It's always recommended to use GLB output. So now this part, save array buffer. Why am I even calling the save array buffer? This is because if you log out result, so let's go back into the browser, and if I click on download GLB format, look at the console window. It's array buffer, right? So now this means that the result that we are getting is basically an array buffer. So now I'm just going to pass the result into save array buffer function. So now let's understand what is going on inside the save array buffer function. So I'm converting the array buffer into a blob. What is blob? So blob is just a file which it contains raw data. So in our case it's binary data, because as I mentioned, GLB contains binary data. The array buffer gets converted into blob, and we name the blob as file name. Now file name contains of course this string, right? And then we go ahead and create this particular link, which will be used to trigger the download. And it's not really necessary to show this link because it's just an anchor tag basically, and even if you detect a click on it, it's we just want to trigger the click so that the object gets downloaded. Okay, now let's understand what is going inside this save function. All right, so as soon as the save function gets called, the link's href property is set to the URL of this particular blob file. So this is just a function that is used to create the URL of a particular object. And yeah, so I have created the URL of this blob file. Download property, what it does is it creates the so it tells you that, all right, so this is the object that you're downloading, and what is the name that you want to give? It's file name. So link.download is equal to file name, and then just do a link.click so that it gets triggered, like the download process gets triggered. Okay, so I hope this was clear, and if it wasn't, let me know down in the comments below, because if you have any questions, you can just comment down below so that we can interact and we can understand what is probably there's something that I'm missing out over here, and then I can explain it more down in the comments below. So as you can see, this scene, it's getting a little cut off over here. So let's fix this a bit. Let's go back to our index.js. So I'm just going to shift the camera's position a bit, and this should fix. Yeah, now this looks much better. So now we want to rotate the scene into with clicks with your mouse, right? So to do that, we are going to use something called the orbit controls. And how we are going to do that is just import orbit controls from 3.js master examples JSM, yeah, controls, and then orbit controls.js. Yeah. Right, now if you go down after the camera, here we are going to define controls. New orbit controls, camera canvas. Okay, and then we're going to call the update method, and controls dot enable damping equals true. And then over here in the animate method, we're just going to call this once again. It's actually not required. So like if I remove it from here, it'll obviously work fine. Yeah. Okay, now let's jump back into the browser and let's see. Yep, it moves. So if I click my mouse, if I hold the click and I try to rotate the object, this is how it looks like, and the download button is working fine. And now if I open sandbox.babylonjs.com, if I drag and drop the file over here, you can see the file, you can see the GLB model over here. So the scene is exported perfectly and it's working fine. So this is just a way to always cross verify whether whatever you have done till now is working fine or not. All right, so it's always a good idea to check this. So hopefully this video was useful. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button, and for me to continue making such content, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video. Bye bye.